Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani with another episode of Weighing In. We're brought to you by USA Wrestling, the national governing body for wrestling in the United States, and by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike and USA Wrestling branded gear. The boys are back. GT, I love I don't know if that's a military green hoodie, but I'm a big fan of it. So good morning, boys. How are we?
Good.
Doing great, man.
First week of the high school wrestling season. I like how high school wrestling kind of just eases in, a little small tournament, regional tournament like Ironman. So
yeah, I think isn't the Donnybrook this weekend?
I would have bet $100 you were going to bring up an Iowa tournament.
It's a big tournament. Iowa's not the only ones there. It's Illinois brings in schools, Wisconsin, Minnesota.
Yes, they have a border state rule. I have gone through this. Shout out again to Eddie Woody and Mark Ryle, Justin McClintock. We were trying to work on something, Bobby Thompson. But yes, Donnybrook is this weekend, but the tournament of the weekend in high school wrestling is Ironman. Absolute banger tournament. Sort of like NASCAR, where they go with the Daytona 500 as their Super Bowl coming right out of the gate. Definitely the hardest in-season tournament I think there is. We were talking off air, probably the three hardest high school tournaments are that Super 32 and Fargo. And Super 32 is interesting in this one because it's all high school, where Fargo has cadets and juniors, or U15s, U17s, depending on how you want to describe it. But unbelievable tournament. With me being involved with the Hall of Fame duels, I would now watch this with a closer eye, because it does impact the seeding of our tournament, and also gets us a little excited about maybe future matchups we might see in a couple weeks at our event. So,
got a question, Grant. Being a coach still, I'm doing recruiting. Do you guys recruit these tournaments? I mean, do you send any of your coaches out to some of these big tournaments to spend the weekend watching kids wrestle?
I think there's a lot of people that do. I think that if you're wanting to kind of get into the inner workings of some of the high school national tournaments, such as, we talked briefly about, like Super 32, Ironman, Fargo, maybe Freak Show, like all these different places that have, basically regional high school events. I know a lot of people spend a lot of time at the high school states, or let's say prep nationals, when it gets maybe closer to the end of the season. But these mid-season tournaments, if you're close, I think it's a good idea. I don't know enough about contact policies for the NCAA schools on when they can and can't approach kids, like go and talk to them. So I don't know if there's a ruling about some of that, but I definitely think that everybody pays attention to those. And if not, if they weren't on your radar, you definitely look at the results or see somebody come up through it. And then you're like, oh yeah, I should try to figure out how to talk to them.
Yeah. A lot of it's FaceTime, right? Like even if you're talking, you're standing next to a freshman and you can't talk to him, you want him seeing there in your gear. I would imagine Grandview is sending somebody over to Donnybrook, those kind of things, like, the D2s and D3s and the NAI schools all in the Iowa area. That's, those kind of things are big. I know for us in JUCO, Mark, like I'd always recruit Virginia Beach. And I always recruited junior duels really hard, because you could kind of see who was coming up. And the coaches knew who had bad grades early. And, back then that was when ACTs and SATs counted on whether you're going to make the clearinghouse. And so, not saying it doesn't now, but there were some exceptions during COVID. So,
and a lot of close relationship with Division I coaches. That's kind of how we did it back in the days, because I could call up Dan Gable. I could call up Johnson from Illinois and say, hey, do you have any kids that you can't get in this year and you need to get junior college credits so they can get in, 2 years later? And Iowa State was good, UNI, Minnesota. So, yeah, it's good to have a relationship with those guys.
I stole that page of the playbook directly from you and Terry Pack. So, yeah. No. I mean, credit, respect, like when I started learning about recruiting, you guys were mentors to me, and that was one of the things. I mean, I remember talking to Tony Roby one year. He's like, all right, I'm going to send you a kid. And I'm like, thank you. Why? He goes, you show up every year. You're the only junior college guy here at junior duels. I was like, so there will be some absolute possible banger matchups at Ironman. I think we'll do a much better job of talking about how they went in those matchups and how that impacts these college teams, right? So like, if you look at the Penn State recruiting class and you look at the Oklahoma State recruiting class, they're sort of nip and tuck. It kind of depends on who you like more and need and all that other stuff. But Vega, there's a very good chance Vega could wrestle Blaze this weekend, which Vega's going to OSU, Blaze PSU. You know, theoretically, like if Vega beat Blaze, he would move up in the pound for pound rankings. Blaze would move down a slot or two, and that might change the overall ranking of that recruiting class. I just think it's going to be awesome, these matches, you know, and it also is going to impact the event we do in March, tied to NCAA's GT. So, you know, we're going to see some matchups there. Like right now, I have one match put together that Flo is highlighting might happen. I'm not sure if I want it to happen or not want it to happen. If it does happen, I hope it's like a 9-8 match so people can't wait to see the rematch kind of thing. So, you know, we're working on some cool stuff there. I know I talked to you about that stuff, Mark, like probably once a week or two offline, but it'll be something to watch. Finals will be Saturday. Boys are Friday, Saturday. Girls are Saturday, Sunday. So something to watch there for sure. Second thing, something near and dear to my heart, the IBJJF World Championships are next weekend. Helen Maroulis, Pat Downey entering blue belt division. For people that don't know jiu-jitsu, blue belts go white, blue, purple, brown, black. There are stripes and things in between there, but we'll keep it very simple. If you've wrestled, the IBJJF changed the rules. You now have to enter at blue belt. You cannot enter at black belt. You cannot enter at white belt. You have to start, if you've just started with no other experience, you have to enter a blue belt. So Downey and Maroulis are entering where they're required to enter. I think it's going to be fascinating. I firmly believe they will win. I won that tournament at age group, and I wasn't nearly as good of a wrestler as they were, or they are. And wrestling has a huge impact, especially at the lower belts and especially in no-gi. But I do think it's good for our sport. The more these people can transition over and immediately have success. And grappling's grappling to a certain extent. Like I was working with some jiu-jitsu guys last night, and there's a lot of parallels to wrestling. So next weekend, you know, might be kind of a slower weekend for college wrestling. If you get a chance, flip over to Flow Grappling and watch some of that stuff. I do know this: if the one of them's down by 1 point late in the fight, winners win. I would put my money on Helen Maroulis for sure to figure out a way.
And I would too. The one I question is, you got to be in really good shape to do this?
No.
Or you don't? Okay. So Downey's got a good shot.
Wow.
I don't think he trains extremely hard. He didn't look like he was in shape when he wrestled at the, you know, U.S. Open. And I know he hadn't wrestled for a few years, but after the first 2 minutes, he had trouble just getting up and getting back to the center of the mat. So,
well, to be fair, he looked really good at the Craig Jones invite, which was a jiu-jitsu tournament after that. Okay. In jiu-jitsu, there's no stalemate. So, like, if you get into a spot where you can just freeze a guy for 30 seconds or a minute, you can catch a breath. So, if for somebody like you, Marco, who hasn't seen it a lot, and you know a couple of these people, it's probably worth watching next weekend if they let you off the train for a couple hours. I think you'd enjoy it. It's cool. I learned a lot about wrestling from jiu-jitsu from my dad and Randy and those kind of people. So I think that's really interesting. Let's see what else we got here. So next thing. So after this, boys, I am literally on my way to go do a play-by-play here in St. Louis. And the only reason I bring it up for two reasons. Shout out MissouriWrestling.com. They're streaming it. And it's two teams here in the St. Louis area, Hillsboro and North Point. But it's an assembly duel. And they have the whole team come out, or the whole school come out, for the teams. I think we have a lot of high school coaches that watch this. This is an awesome way to get your kids really pumped up. Like, both sides get super excited about it. I would think in the state of Iowa, this would kill, right, GT? I mean, as much people who love wrestling anyway, if you do it like they do it at mid-afternoon, and it's like everybody gets 1 hour off class and then they stay. The crowd, they have like 1,500 kids at this meet. So it's pretty cool. So go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mark.
No, I didn't. I think the bigger schools right now, Fort Dodge Senior High, when they have a duel there, I mean, standing room only. You can't. Southeast Polk, probably a half a dozen teams. Don Bosco now with the Schwab boys wrestling, both of them, Lisbon. And I'm sure I'm missing some really good schools.
Well, maybe it's a better idea for the teams that aren't getting.
Yes, I think it's a great idea.
So
I remember the first time when I wrestled my freshman year in high school, first duel we had was against Eagle Grove, and Eagle Grove back then was a powerhouse, and it was standing room only. And I mean, I was a true freshman, and I was so scared when I walked out on that mat. And but it was a great experience.
Yeah, I just think it's something cool for the kids. I know both coaches. I know the guy doing the play-by-play. I mean, it's just would be like if you guys did it in the Iowa area, Des Moines area, Ankeny. I just think it's something really cool. They asked me to be a part of. I think this is the third or fourth year I've done it. I actually had some coaches ping me during the stream and afterwards about how they could do it. I mean, I'll give a shout out to Matt Mitchell, Hillsborough High School. This podcast will come out after the meet, but he's the one that put it together. I think it's just basically a matter of working with your administration and getting out in front of it, 9-10 months in advance. But we're all talking about ways to grow wrestling. A lot of people just say they're growing wrestling and are trying to figure out a way to monetize it for themselves, but they don't make any money on this.
Anytime we can get new people there to watch even the one duel, it's going to change somebody's life and change their feelings on the sport, and they're going to start showing up, and then their friends are going to show up with them. And so, yeah, I agree.
What's really cool about this meet are the oohs and ahs about stuff that guys like us take for granted. Like a guy hit a standing Granby last year, and the other guy just followed, and the crowd went nuts. And me and Marcus doing the play-by-play were like, he rolled and followed. But if you've never seen wrestling, it's pretty amazing. So, not denigrating that. It's tied directly to what you said, Mark. Like, you get new people to fall in line with this, and it's really, really impressive. So it makes a big impact on them. All right, last thing I think what we're going to do is go through the rankings, and then as we go through the rankings, we'll preview CKLV. I feel like that's the easiest way to do it. I'm going to try to pull up the CKLV website and see if we can have the list of teams. But if either one of you guys want to talk about this while I'll pull it up, Minnesota boat race South Dakota State. Okay, they boat raced them 30-3. Obviously, they were favored in some weights, like 285. But Cooper Flynn got a win over Tanner Jordan. McAnally beat Berge. Those are the two big ones. I put McAnally, I think, right in at the very least, the 4 through 8 conversation. I think we all agree there's kind of a tier at 184, those top 3 guys, or maybe even 3 tiers. But everybody's theoretically below those guys, but McAnally hasn't wrestled them yet. But Marco, if you want to, for a minute, just kind of tell me what you thought about that meet. And it did stink that we couldn't watch it. It was on Midco or something.
Yeah, I mean, what I noticed is the scores were lopsided, and there were some good kids. I mean, 197, 11-3.
Salazar over Glazer. Yeah.
I never seen Glazer last year get beat by anybody that bad, except maybe Brooks at National, or I'm not even sure Brooks beat him that bad. But I mean, he was in every match he wrestled within 2 or 3 points, and Salazar just opened him up. So just the lopsided of the matches that they did have tells me that Minnesota's a heck of a lot better than some of us thought they might be this year.
So GT, you're still coaching actively. And I thought about this literally when I was getting ready to do this week. I'm sure you've had years where a guy got hurt or was ineligible at the semester. And I'm sure you've had years where a guy got healthy, where you had a transfer. How big of an injection to the whole program, like how good we can be as Minnesota, is Gable? Because this week they're ranked number 5. And they were like in the 15-20 range.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the biggest thing, and once again, it does look like Minnesota boat race SDSU, but once again, we had Cooper Flynn upset Tanner Jordan, and there was I think there was 2 other overtime wins. So once again, probably in a lot more matches than maybe what the score basically allows for.
Yeah.
Fair. And, I think, once again, I think that if you look at even some of the best teams in the country, like if you're in every match, which I think most often than not, like if you're doing a dual meet, you want to be in every match, right? And then there's a couple of maybe lopsided ones where you're completely outmanned. But I think, let's say you take away the presence of a Gable Stevenson to get to your point, then all of a sudden, you got somebody at the end of the duel, like you're like, oh, well, we got at least, 4, 5, 6 out of Gable. It gives you kind of a little bit more as a coach to like, hey, we got some guaranteed points here, depending upon where we start the duel or whatnot. And I think that even in the match that, let's say, SDSU is probably the most favored, which is Cade DeVos, Clayton Whiting wrestles a pretty tough match against him. And you think maybe your superstar that's ranked number 3 in the nation, gets a major or, could potentially earn you more points. But like Minnesota wrestled them really close and tight and, wrestled extremely well. So, and don't think that doesn't play on the recruiting that like, hey, listen, there's a lot of kids that go from the state of Minnesota to South Dakota State as an option to go wrestle. And once again, I think that it lends itself to being a little bit more of like, yeah, no, we're really good now. And now we were, I don't know, 25th, 15th. Now we're in the top 10 with what we got going on. And I'm happy to see that for Egham and Becker and staff up there. Because there for a while, it looked like it was a mass exodus with everybody kind of leaving but some of these kids are stepping up, and I'm really excited about kind of what Minnesota's doing now.
And I agree, Grant, I agree 1,000% with you. And I'm going to be the first to admit when I'm wrong, because I had buried Minnesota. I buried the shovel with them when they lost a bunch of guys. I did not think they were going to have a team that could compete. I thought they were going to be lower tier of the Big Ten. Their coaching staff must be phenomenal, because I'm seeing kids outperform what you would expect young kids to do this early in the year. And I hope it continues, because that's what the Big Ten needs, is competition at every school to keep it, the best conference in the country. So
here's their lineup real quick with their current rankings this week. Cooper Flynn, 12, Tyler Wells, 8, Vombar, 6, Roberts, 27, Askey, 8, Sparks, 13, Whiting, 23, McAnally, 5, Salazar, 7, Gable, 1. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in the top 8. If you had told me at the beginning of the year and take Gable out of it, that they were going to have 5 guys ranked in the top 8 at this point, half their teams being All-American, then you add Gable, like me and you, Mark, would have bet the under. I didn't bury the shovel like you did. That's a great line, by the way, GT.
I did.
I don't know how you bury the shovel, but you need.
They lost so many kids.
Well, and they had a weird thing at 125 where like Ramos left and other guys, and Spratley left, and they're doing great now. And they had to bring a guy in from the portal where they could have had one of those guys, but. If you've ever met those guys in GT, you have a great relationship with Egham and company. They're the nicest human beings in the world. Like Minnesota nice is a real thing. And so to see those good guys be in the hunt for a team trophy, if you go to the team rankings real quick, just in this week's team rankings, Oklahoma State 59.8, Nebraska 57.7, Minnesota 57.2. And then it falls 10 points to Ohio State at 47.7. And Penn State and Iowa were obviously 1 and 2, but they're in it. They're right in the hunt. And they have one guy. When you look at your points and how you get them, you feel really good about Gable's 20. Like, that might be the safest 20 in the tournament. And you're expecting probably tech fall points the first 3 rounds. That's another 4.5. So, 4 of the guys got to get majors to catch him on other teams. So they're in it. And we probably won't get to it today, but they're an interesting dual meet team against even Iowa and Penn State a little bit. They got one hammer for sure. They match up pretty interesting with Iowa. Like they'd be favored at 25-41 in heavy. They can wrestle them at 97, and they'd be favored at 57 without Teamer. That's 5. And then you go, well, you got to get bonus. Well, you're going to get bonus at heavyweight.
Then you got to beat them at 84 because they now are favored over Iowa at 84.
It's 5 and 6 right now. Gabe's 5, McAnally 6, but yeah, that's a toss-up match, so they can definitely win that. Yeah, for sure, toss-up. Right. So I mean, a lot of it depends on Teamer, but that's a way more interesting duel than we would have thought in November, like a month ago, literally. So, all right. Here are the teams at Vegas. This is alphabetical order: App State, Arizona State, Binghamton, Cal Bap, Cal Poly, Bakersfield, Columbia, Cornell, Harvard, Hofstra, Iowa State, Michigan, Nebraska, NC State, Navy, Northwestern, Ohio State, Ohio, Oklahoma State, Oregon State, Purdue, Rider, Sacred Heart, South Dakota State, Stanford, UNI, UVU, VTech, West Virginia, Wyoming. Okay, we're going to attempt to try to pull up, as we go through these weight classes, everybody that's in this. We are certainly going to miss some people. So I apologize in advance, but we're going to try to do our best here. Shout out to Christian Thompson and Matt Kings. He does this late on Monday night or Tuesday morning. Mark, like you and I used to do on Sunday night, compiles all the rankings for us. So, but this is awesome because we can kind of see how great you're smiling and laughing. What?
Top 8 guys could be there.
It looks like a lot of them. Yeah. I don't know. I got to look in peek of Stanford. Yeah, Stanford's there. Okay. So Figueroa will be there. Smith will be there. Ramos will be there. Spratley will be there. Provo will be there. Volk will be there. Ventresca will be there. I got to look and see again if South Dakota State.
They are. You said them.
Okay. They're there. Okay.
Ohio State's there.
And Vincent Robinson. Jeez. 10 of the top 11, and then Diaka Mahalis at 13. Okay. Unbelievable. Like, do we?
No. I don't even know how you start. Is Figs going to wrestle? Does anybody know?
I don't know that.
That's the problem we have. We don't know who's going to show up.
Well, let's put it this way. All right, GT, like, you and I have both heard things in the offseason about how good Spratley's doing. How interested are, like, who would, like, I'm interested in watching Spratley wrestle Ramos, like, as much as anybody. I feel like, you know, Ramos was a guy that's made the national finals. He had, you know, he has the biggest win of anybody resume-wise. He beat Spencer Lee. And I know Ramos didn't place last year, but it feels to me like if Spratley beats Ramos, like he's in the national championship conversation. And then the other guy who I'm completely intrigued to watch is Vincent Robinson. You know, the year he's had so far. Like, maybe we'll do picks. I don't know. I'm here for it. But let's just talk first, like, who Grant, like, if there's just one or two matchups, or just what excites you about this weight class?
Well, I think one of the things that I'm probably the most intrigued with is I want to see what Caleb Smith looks like with a bracket like this. I think that he has so much potential as currently being like the second-ranked guy in the nation. And just, I want to see him put together a tournament that like solidifies him in my mind as like, you know, a top 5 guy. I think the other guy that I'm sneakily going to keep an eye on throughout the entire year is Brendan McCrone. He is an intriguing athlete to me because of his placement within the Big Ten. Because he very well could be Big Ten champ if he like upsets like, you know, maybe one guy.
Yep.
Like makes it to the Big Ten finals or whatever. Because as of right now, like he's probably going to be in the, you know, conversation for either the first, second, or third seed.
He'd be the 3 seed if these rankings held. Correct.
But I mean, once again, we all know that what Luke Lillidow is not in there quite yet.
Yeah.
You know, there's some other guys that are like in there, but like if he makes one, you know, gets to a semifinal with one of those guys, either Smith or Matt Ramos, and he's on the other side of the bracket of Lilladale, I think he has a really good chance to make, as a freshman, make a final, right? So, and all of these other guys, pretty much, we've seen a lot of those guys be, kind of proven athletes already. So that's one of the guys that intrigues me a lot while kind of looking at this.
You make a great point. The top 9 guys, we have big bodies of work on it. McCrone and Vincent Robinson are the guys. And obviously you just look at their gear and you're like, okay, well, they're freshmen. No kidding. Yeah. But, these other guys have wrestled a long time and all over. Provo hasn't wrestled this year. My guess is his first meet will not be 15. So, I mean, this may be not quite as deep as we think if Figs and Provo doesn't wrestle. Mark, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm interested in Eddie Ventresca. If he's back and healthy and wrestling the way that he did 2 years ago, because last year he kind of fell off the map. So I'm interested to see where his progression's at. Joey Volks lost 2 or 3 matches this year. It's been tough early, but I know he's talented. I mean, he started the year at number 2, now he's at the 7. So, and then Figs, I want to see how he's progressed. I hope he wrestles. I hope he doesn't sit. I think everybody wants to see where he's at, because last year, early in the year, he did not look like a national champion. At the end of the year, he looked like a world beater. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there.
So, Mark, you're the guru here of the 3 of us. Do we want to make picks?
Sure. Just let's do the finalists.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You want to go first?
Sure. I'm going to take Ramos against Spratley in the finals. I'm going to take Spratley winning it.
Spratley over Ramos. Okay. GT?
I'm going to take Caleb Smith and Jory Volk to make finals. I'm going to say Caleb Smith wins it.
This is so 125. We'll probably have 6 different names in here, just like last year. I want to pick Vincent Robinson so bad. I just want to do it. Because I'm trying to figure out where these seeds will fall. Because I don't think Figs is going to wrestle. I don't think Provo's going to wrestle. I'm going to take Ramos over Robinson. I want to see Robinson with that wrist snap too. He's got some nice stuff there. So, so this is obviously all the weights, but this weight has a huge impact on the team rankings, because if Spratley goes from 4 to 1, that bumps Oklahoma State to a solid 3rd. And if he goes from 4 to 8, that takes him to 5th. So,
and the reason I'm going to give you a reason why I'm picking Spratley is because his workout room now is Dayton Fix. He's got RBY
and Gilman.
I mean, my God, how good could he get in the last 2.5 months since they've been there? Could be amazing.
Well, listen, no one's arguing that. He also had to take the guy down from Utah Valley in the last 6 seconds to beat him. So, it hasn't exactly stuck yet where he's mollywopping dudes. So, it's just early. This is why they wrestle the matches. Okay, 33. All right, Crookham's not there. Bailey's not there. Bird's not there. Ragusin is there. Frost is there. Tyler Knox is there. Buzakis, McGonigal. That's Brett Unger, Jacob Van D, Jacob Klebo, but now we're going down to 20. This feels like it's going to be much easier to pick who's going to make the finals. But no Crookham, no Bailey, no Bird, no Ayala. Rutgers isn't there, are they?
I don't think so.
No, they've been there before.
Yes, they have.
Because I remember the conversation in the corner between Goodale and Tom Ryan about the nosebleed in the Ashnall match. I'm sorry, it was just funny to me. Okay. All right. Is anybody here not picking Ragusin and Frost?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Mark.
I'm taking Frost, and I'm taking Knox.
And
And I'm
who's winning?
taking Frost to win it. I think Knox is the real deal.
Okay. I'm going to take Ragusan over Frost. GT, you got Frost over Ragusan?
No, I'm gonna take we'll take Tyler Knox and Braden Davis in the finals.
Penn State's not coming.
Oh, I thought you said that they were. I
No,
apologize.
No, they're wrestling Lehigh this weekend.
Oh, that's right. Then I'll take Frost and Knox.
And you got Frost winning?
Yes.
Okay.
By the way, just be careful of looking at some of the class rankings. Some of that is not accurate.
These grades? Yeah.
Like Lucas Bird is not a junior.
No.
Lucas Bird's 32 years old.
He could have some Van Wilder status, right? So I think that there's also, like, when I was looking up Macron and kind of some of his results, like while we were talking.
Yeah, he was their starter last year for.
Yeah, he was. But when I was thinking about his freshman year, even when I was talking about it, I was like, oh, well, like, I remember him at Big Tens. Like, why does it say freshman? But I'm like, well, it could be, like whatever, his redshirt freshman or whatever. But like, so when you look at this stuff, be careful, because there's so many athletes, and you're like, well, even with COVID, like some of this stuff could be like, well, they're technically a freshman or whatever. So my apologies for screwing that up earlier.
You're good. The year thing is really a good point out. The rankings part is really good, though. I love this website for that. And also, so if you're watching or listening, if you go to this website, you can click on the guy's name and it'll show you where he's been ranked every single week. And so it's a sort of a version of WrestleStat where you can kind of get some cool stuff. And we love WrestleStat too. Those guys do an awesome job. I will say this for the 129th time. So great to be on USA Wrestling Airwaves when other people do great work that we can acknowledge that, right, Marco?
And I know Christian's going to clean up the years because he knows Crookham's not a freshman anymore. He knows Bailey's. I mean, they both wrestle at nationals. It's just when you start a new format and everything, I mean, it probably just takes a while to get done. But what he does and what we can use this for is phenomenal.
It is absolutely the best.
Yep.
Every week I talk to somebody that flips over to this website because you can just do so many cool things. And Mark, you and I work super hard to, I believe, have the best rankings in the industry. But it's so cool. This is literally what I was doing every week to make sure our rankings weren't too far off everybody. And if they were, I would call you, Mike, are we wrong or are they wrong?
Yeah.
And so for him to do this for us is fantastic. So,
okay, my apologies. David, did you make a pick here?
I picked Ragusan Frost.
Ragusan Frost, okay.
I did. So, all right, 41. Okay, Mendez will be there. Hardy will be there. Happel will be there. Northern Iowa goes?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm toggling, so I apologize. Okay, Lemley will be there. Tegan Jamison will be there. Coderhant will be there. Jordan Titus will be there. Kairini will be there. Maybe Chris Cannon will be there. Vince Cornello will be there. So we got Samuel Tote down to 17. Utah Valley, Hayden Drury at 18. So we have numbers 1, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 14, 15, 17. I'll make this simple. I'm assuming, stop me, we're all picking Mendez to win it?
Is Alira's going to be there?
Northern Colorado's not coming.
Okay.
We had talked about Steve O'Poolin at 25 if they were.
All right. Yes, I'm picking Mendez to beat Hardy in the finals.
I'm going to do the same.
I'm going to take Mendez versus Happel with Mendez winning.
Happel beating Hardy.
I like that. Well, it's 4-5. They're right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to see. I think some other, like Sergio Lemley, I told you, was in like a 1-1 match and then tech the guy 16-1 in the third period. Coderhant's really good on top. Tegan Jamison is, I think, having a hard time get down to weight, but if he can do it. And we didn't mention 33, but Cale Hughes is an interesting wild card there, right, GT? Like, I mean, he's ranked further down the line at 33, but he's a guy with huge upside. If he can, him on a 2-day weigh-in might be a little interesting, right?
Well, I always equate kind of Cliff Keen and like Midlands and Southern Scuffle to, we get some matches or wild results that like we kind of talk about towards the end of the postseason, where this is kind of a measuring stick for people early in the year.
Yeah.
Just because it's a big traditional style tournament and, you know, there's wild things that happen, right? So like, I mean, some of the things that I can remember all the way back is, and then this is going all the way back, is like, you know, the one time that like Dylan Peters was able to upset Tomasello, like that, like weighed out his like measuring stick for almost the rest of the season and seasons to come, where it's like, well, this guy's done it before or something like that. But I think you always get some mix and match results where like a guy that was already seated pretty high maybe loses a tight one. But I think this is going to be a really, really good weight class, just because I think that it's going to have a good shakeup of, you know, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You're going to have a different ranking after this tournament, probably.
Quarters and semis for the guys that don't have to wrestle Mendez are probably going to be really, really good. So the other thing is this to keep in mind: if you're a fan of a guy that goes to a smaller school, doesn't have a super high level schedule, if they can peak for this tournament, it's huge. Like the year Joe Colon lawn chaired Ramos at Midlands, it was huge for him because if Ramos wins the Big Tens, Joe Colon is seated over all those guys at nationals as long as he wins what back then was the EWL.
Yep.
And for those of us that have done rankings, that's how it gets connected. And if you know the formula, that's how it gets connected. They're both conference champs. Head-to-head's the number one criteria. So individual results from like a Jordan Titus or Ty Waters, who's coming up here at 49, because West Virginia doesn't, you know, have as many of the tough meets on their schedule as some of these other people. So just really something to keep in mind on how it's going to impact the brackets at nationals. 49 is lit. Caleb Henson, Ty Waters, Ridge Lovett, Anthony Echemendia, Chance Lamer, Dylan D'Amelio, Jaden Abbas, Colin Realbuto, Alec Martin. Okay, so I think after the All-Star meet, we felt like, hey, Shane Van Ness has, if we were worried if he's okay from the injury, he's fine. Caleb Henson won Natties last year, lost to Jackson Arrington, lost to Lovett at this tournament. He should be the 1 seed. I think Waters would be the 2, Lovett the 3, Echemendia the 4. Caleb Henson, Anthony Echemendia feels a lot to me like Echemendia and Parco, where like he's got to get a takedown, can't pick down. Maybe don't try to ride this time. Maybe just let him go. Maybe don't even touch him.
Can you do this? You can do this, right?
Yes. Mark, this.
Okay.
No, this. Don't even touch him. Don't get a caution.
Okay.
Just go to the ref, both up. Mark's showing the freestyle hands. I'm showing the field goal hands. People are listening. Okay, so I think there's potential for upsets here. I'll go out on a limb. I'll take Lovett over Echemendia in the finals. Marco?
I'm going to go Lovett. I got to go Lovett over Henson in the finals. I just don't think Anthony's just there yet with Caleb Henson. I think he's close, and I think this is going to be a stepping stone whether or not they get him down to 141, depending on how he does out here. Because if he gets out here and places in the top 2, he ain't going down to 141. He's saying, this is my spot. I want it. I'm good here.
Yeah. GT?
I'm taking Caleb Henson over Ty Waters.
Mark, GT's the only guy smart enough to pick the national champ to win the weight class.
He's not smart enough. I mean, that's a good pick. I mean,
I'm saying that.
I just think Rich And a lot of it depends on where they're seated, obviously, but Ridge Lovett, to me, is better than Ty Waters. I think he's really more physical on his feet, and he's a big move guy also. He can get out, he can ride. I think he takes away what Ty is really, really good at. So that's why I kind of liked Lovett in the finals, and he beat Henson last year. But, yeah, I picked Henson to get there, so that's half the battle. But good pick, Grant.
Lovett and Waters is a super interesting match because they're both really good mat wrestlers. Like, it's not auto down and get out without riding time. Like, that match could go 0-0 and they both just rode the crap out of each other. Like that, it'd be mildly surprising, but not shocking. I mean, that's entirely possible that could happen. All right, we'll go to 57. Okay, Meyer Shapiro, who hasn't wrestled. All right, so Mark, we probably need to address this. This is the most unknown weight class on who's going to win nationals, because if you're looking at the rankings, Teamer's 1, bad leg. Shapiro's 2, concussions. Kasak 3, was a backup, lost his wrestle off. Cardenas is 4, redshirting. Peyton Keller's 5, placed last year, smaller max school. Antrell Taylor 6, coming down a weight. Ryder Downey 7. Did he even place last year?
No, but he beat some really good kids on the way.
He didn't place.
Not place.
Tommy Askey, transfer from App State, didn't place. Panero Johnson had to sit out last year. That's your top 9.
Yep.
This weight's bonkers. I'm not sure Ridge Lovett couldn't move up and win this weight.
Yeah.
Just saying. Okay. Okay, so as far as the tournament goes, Shapiro, who I don't think is going to wrestle, could be there. Cardenas, who is redshirting, could be there. Peyton Keller, we said Ohio is coming?
Yep.
Okay. Will be there. Trelli will be there. Downey will be there. Panera will be there. Chumbley will be there. Patty Gallagher will be there. Ed Scott will be there. Joey Blaze will be there. Teague Travis will be there. Chase Aldate will be there. Ethan Stiles will be there. Rafael Hippolito will be there. Kobe Siebrecht will be there. So, I mean, this is a weight where like Ethan Stiles has already beat some good dudes. Also, by the way, there's no way Teague Travis should be ranked above Ethan Stiles. That makes no sense. Hippolito, another jiu-jitsu guy, super high ceiling. Mark, you want to go first here?
I can. I mean, I have no problems with it. I'm going to take Antrell Taylor from Nebraska in the finals against Panero Johnson, and I'm going to take Antrell Taylor to win it.
I'm going to go Panero over Taylor. GT?
Okay, I'm going to take Peyton Keller over Ryder Downey.
I like it.
I knew Downey was coming out of your mouth. I like that kid. He is such a scrap.
If you're unfamiliar with his game, he is a good wrestler. Like
he's a great wrestler.
So I was looking up some of the results of some of these guys as like kind of what the bracket looked like last year.
Yeah.
There was a lot of craziness that happened in that bracket. But I think this year's 57 is going to be this year's 125. I think you're going to see pandemonium throughout the entire year.
Yes, because the guys at the top, it's crazy, right? Like Teamer may come back and be that dude and win the bracket, right? Meyer Shapiro may come back from the concussions and be that dude and be in the finals. Daniel Cardenas may come out of red shirt, and we may have complete law and order at the top of 57. I feel like that's not going to be the case. Like, we've already talked about it. Teamer relies on his athleticism. He's not a plotter. He's got to have 2 healthy legs. Concussions are super touchy. You can feel fine. The next day, it's a mess. I mean, it's just and if you're in red shirt, you're probably in red shirt. I would say this, Chris Ayers, you and I are friends. I'd wrestle all of them because all these dudes, as soon as they graduate, they leave. They want the degree and then they're going to go get paid. I'd wrestle Aiden Valencia. That's another interesting guy at 141. If he were to wrestle, I'd wrestle Cardenas. I'd wrestle all these cats right out of the chute. Just some JUCO advice from St. Louis, Missouri. All right. You like that, Mark?
Yep, I love the JUCO advice. They're going to listen to us. Yep.
Stanford's going to listen to us. All right, this weight is awesome too. Peyton Hall, Terrell Barraclaw, Sammy Sasso, Hunter Garvin, Julian Ramirez, MJ Gaitan, probably GT because Uten is probably out, Will Miller, and Cam Amin, all like lined up, and then Max Mayfield. And then Nico Ruiz, who just had a big win over the weekend as well. So jumped from 25 to 15. Brock Mantanona. They got two Mantanonas in here, so it's Brock, but that's fine. So, I mean, I guess the favorites. So I think this is where we figure out how healthy Sammy Sasso is, right?
Yeah, I think we're going to find out.
And he could lose in this tournament, and we still pick him for later in the year, right? Like this is not going to be. I think we agree this will not be peak Sammy Sasso.
I don't think he's peaked yet. No, I think the results he's had have been their wins, but they're wins by 3 and 4 points. He hasn't opened up. He's still working through some things, I'm guessing. So, yeah. And you know what, David? This is a tournament. He may only wrestle 2 rounds and default out, just get a couple matches in. They're going to take it slow. You just never know what they're going to do.
And as much as people would be mad about that, if you've coached, you totally get that.
Yep.
So, yeah. Okay, so that being said, you're picking Sasso to win.
No, I don't think no. I'm gonna take Bearclaw to win it, and I'm gonna have him beating Peyton Hall in the finals.
Okay, GT. I'll go. I'll give you a minute to think about it.
Okay.
I'll take Barraclaw. By the way, Julian Ramirez took another loss. This guy's always ranked high, always has great regular season wins, and it feels like he's going to be in the blood round again. You root for him to push through, but it could become a self-fulfilling prophecy for him. Easy for me to say. I'm going to go GT here, and as much as I don't trust this, I'm going to go Barraclaw over Amin. I think Amin gets it together, wrestles hard out here, and makes the finals.
I'm going to have a rematch of the NWCA All-Star Classic, Peyton Hall over Hunter Garvin.
Same result?
Yep.
Okay.
And that could be a really good pick.
Mine would be a rematch of the duel, too. So we could potentially see a couple of rematches. All right. 174. DeVos, Hamidi, Wolak, Karchla, Norman, Pinto, Ruiz, Casella, Wask, Sima, Garrett Thompson. We were not going to go below 20. Okay. So number 3 and 4 and 5 and 7 and 9. And 9 beat 8. So really should be 8.
Crazy.
Said crazy?
Crazy.
I guarantee you I got $20.
Hang on, I got to figure out where these guys are going to be because I know who I think is going to win it, but I got to see if the guy I think is going to get second is on the same side.
I'm going to bet $20 we all pick the same winner here.
Maybe. DeVos is going to be the number 1 seed. Should be the number 1 seed. Hamidi should be 2. Womack 3. And Contreras 4. Karchla 5.
Wait. Is Penn there? Penn's not there, bro.
Okay, so Karchla would be 4.
The seed should be DeVos 1, Hamidi 2, Wolak 3, Karchla 4, Norman 5. Pinto is a very dangerous 6.
Yes.
So he would have Wolak in the quarters, just if you're scoring at home, and the winner would have Hamidi.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to take committee to win it.
Yep.
That doesn't surprise anybody here, probably.
That's my $20. I think we're all thinking.
And I'm going to take Karchla to get second. I hope he's healthy.
You
know what? No, I'm not going to pick Karchla because I don't know if he's healthy. I think I'm going to take Norman from Stanford.
Okay, go ahead. We'll allow the change. Go ahead. GT?
I'm going to take committee over Wallach.
So I was right. We're all taking. And I'm going to go with GT's pick. Although, no, wait. We can't pick that. I'm not, just because I think they're going to be on the same side of the bracket. So I'm going to take committee over DeVos. I'm going to take committee over Wallach in the semis. Okay. 84. Keckheisen, Flott, Berge, Allred, Foka, Fishback, TJ Stewart, Ryder Rogotsky, Evan Bachman, Jaden Bullock. Those are your guys. And so pretty good weight.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I should say really good. You got numbers 2, 3, and 4 there. Are we anybody picking anybody but Keckheisen over Plot here?
Oh.
Nope.
Scroll down a little bit. I thought there was another guy that I kind of liked there for a minute, David.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Edmund Ruth, yeah.
He's getting killed this year, bro.
Yeah, he's not doing so well. But this could be his, coming out party.
Sure.
I've seen it happen. I think I'd take the 2 and 3 seed Keckheisen to Major Plot in the finals.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
So good, bro.
He's a scoring machine.
So good. Okay. This weight is lit. Cardenas, Ferrari, Michael Beard, Glazer, Munoz, Andy Smith, Serber, Novak, Volker, Giag, Christian Carroll, Stemmet. This is stupid. Stupid good. Okay. Here's my first question. If Ferrari wins, he should be ranked 1, right? Because he's never lost to Buchanan?
No. I'm going to say no. No, just because Buchanan was third the last 2 years while AJ was on a sabbatical doing, what he does. So I think that's a big win for him. I think that puts him at the number 2 seed in the country. But Cardenas is pretty good.
I'm not saying he's going to win. I know. It's fine. Okay. All right.
I'm going to take, I'll go first on this one because I went first on almost every one of them. I'm going to take AJ. I'm going to take Cardenas over AJ in the finals.
Okay. GT?
I'll take Ferrari over Cardenas.
I got to go with GT. I think that's right. Here's the thing. It's such an interesting style, right? Because they both like to wrestle in space. They're both super powerful. They're both super explosive. It feels – so here's the thing, Mark. If we were setting the point spread on this match, you can't set it at 3, but it's probably a 4-1 overtime match.
The match I want to really see is Salazar against Ferrari. I think that's going to be absolutely dynamite.
The match I want to see is Ferrari against Glazer.
You're not going to see that match. Glazer's probably going to be the number.
I said what I want to see.
4 or 5 seed.
Well, okay. If this were right, Cardenas is 1, Ferrari's 2, Beard 3, Salazar 4, Glazer.
Beard's not there.
Okay. Cardenas 1, Ferrari 2, Salazar 3, Glazer 4. If Ferrari was the 1, that's the 1-4. Could see it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
What?
Okay. I don't think Glazer beats Munoz from Oregon State in the quarters anyway.
Okay, but I'm just saying
it could happen. But
maybe on the same side of the bracket. I mean, you're acting like it's a mathematical impossibility.
Agreed.
Hey, how much do we like Luke Serber here?
I think he places in the top 8.
GT, I feel like he's the kind of guy, he's going to be like the 6 or probably the 7 seed. So he's going to get either Cardenas or Ferrari, and he's a counter puncher. And it feels like his dive over the top, put you in weird scrambles, might cause these guys problems. I think maybe Cardenas more problems than Ferrari because they used to be, work out together. But it would be interesting, right?
Well, I think a healthy Luke Serber, like we haven't really seen that in a while, right? So, he beat Munoz, correct?
Yes, these are wrong. He should be above Munoz. I mean, the math is right on what they have here, but he should be ranked above Munoz for sure.
But I think when we look at Luke Serber as a potential guy that could do some damage if he's healthy, he's got a whole bunch of really good stuff that he can do. We just haven't seen him healthy for a while.
Right. 100%. Do we think he's good enough to give either one of those guys a real run?
I mean, it's too early to tell, but I think that, beating somebody like Trey Munoz is no joke.
That is correct. Yeah.
I think that he can, if he wrestles the way that we all know that he can, yeah, he's a threat to either one of those guys.
Here's my big question. You guys can answer this for me. If Munoz places 7th or 8th here, does he go back down to 184?
So here's what's interesting about that. If he goes to 84, I think he should be at 84 now, just based on what we've seen. But I don't think he beats Strachey. I don't think he beats Keckheisen. I don't think he beats Plott. Let me go look.
But then he's right there with everybody else.
Let me look.
I think.
He's in the conversation with Berge, McAnally, Arnold, Hawks, Allred for sure.
Yes.
Right. If he loses, say he loses to Cardenas or Ferrari here and then loses to Isaiah Salazar or somebody, and then he's wrestling for 5th and
Serber beats him
loses
again.
to Serber for 5th, okay? And he's 6th.
I mean,
then you think maybe you don't even place at nationals, right? Because you have to have Buchanan, Elam, and Little. Then it should probably go down, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, these are what these tournaments can do for teams right now. They're going to find out where they stand.
Well, the other thing is this. I think it's pretty obvious Iowa State's going to pull some dudes down. And so I think this is the last time you see these guys at this weight. And then you're going to probably see some hodgepodge of their lineup. You're probably not going to see their best lineup at the collegiate duels because they have to start descending. And the people that don't understand that basically you can lose about 2 pounds a week. It's 1.5%. But if you're above 133 pounds, that's about 2 pounds a week, give or take. So, all right, 285. No Gable, no Kirkfleet. Hendrickson will be there. Bastida will be there. Trumbull will be there. Schultz will be there. Feldman will be there. Treffen will not be there because he is at Lehigh. Josh Heinzelman is now eligible. He will be there. Jimmy Mullen will be there. Corey Day will be there. Lance Runyon. By the way, Lance Runyon had a really good win, Mark, against Nitzel in the duel. Buknovich from Bakersfield will be there. Okay. So, I mean, top 5 dudes in this are really freaking good, man. Hendrickson, Bastida, Trumbull, Schultz, Feldman. Kind of crazy. Feldman might be the 5 seed.
Yeah. Schultz would be the 4.
I mean, if these hold, right? These are not. These are rankings, right?
No, yeah, but I mean, that's just
got to go off something.
I guess I could see Bastida because he didn't place at nationals last year, drop down to 4 or 5 in that area. I don't know if it happened, but it could.
I don't know what the seeding criteria is for this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to go first?
Sure, Mark, because you're the martyr. Go ahead.
I'm going to take Bastida to win it over Hendrickson for the 3rd time in a row that they've wrestled.
I'm going to say right now that GT picks Hendrickson over Bastida, but go ahead. Let's see if I'm right.
Yep.
Man, don't do it because David said it.
No, I know the great mind of GT.
There is a caveat to this.
Okay.
I think Trumbull gives Bastida everything that he wants.
I agree.
I disagree.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a 1-point match.
I think Bastida takes him down 3 or 4 times. He's just too good on his feet.
I guess we're going to find out.
Mark.
And the reason is, I'm going to tell you, you guys are all going by what he did with Kyle Schneider at the Olympic trials and how competitive he was. Kyle Schneider doesn't shoot. He bullies you around the mat. Bastida shoots, and he can finish.
All right,
do you remember what he did to Hendrickson last year when he got in on those single legs and dumped him like 3 different times?
Well, I do remember him picking Lucas Davison over his head, but GT, you were going to make a point. Go ahead.
He had a broken hand, David.
No, when he picked up Lucas Davison at Cliff Keen. Yeah. I'm on your side on this one.
All right, you're on my side on this one.
GT, go ahead.
What I like about Trumbull in that matchup is that he's got a lot of length and he's got some leverage that I think gives him some ability to wrestle with Bastida. Bastida is ginormous and really, really talented. I just think that I am intrigued to see that matchup, and I think that it's going to be closer than a lot of people think it will be because Younger is that talented and has proven himself at heavyweight. I like Trumbull at this weight class, and I just think that this is a proper opportunity for us to kind of see what he looks like at whatever it is, 240 some odd pounds or 230 pounds, whatever he is.
Has Trumbull lost this year, David?
He did.
Who did he lose to?
You tell me. He lose to Luffman or he lose to Schultz?
He lost to Luffman, didn't he?
No, I think he lost to Schultz.
Schultz like kind of big brothered him. He kind of fell over on him.
And Luffman
beat Schultz and Schultz beat Trumbull.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Because Luffman beat Schultz 2-1 on stalling calls. Yeah. And Hendrickson beat Schultz by like 6.
See, now, to me, Colton Schultz would be a problem for Bastida if Bastida couldn't finish clean because those are some big old hips. Schultz is going to come down on top of you if you don't get your hips underneath you right away. That's going to be interesting.
I want to pick something different, so I'm just going to pick. I'm sure I'm wrong. I'm just going to pick Trumbull over Feldman. I'm sure I'm wrong about this. I would have some version of Bastida and Hendrickson like you guys do, but just to mix it up. I mean, Feldman, I think, can beat Schultz. I think he can wrestle him from the outside. And I think if he doesn't get Hendrickson, to pull on him too much, he might be able to pass and get to the ankles. We already talked about Trumbull Bastida. I fall on the GT side of the argument. I think he can give him trouble. And Mark, you know how much I love Bastida. Like, I love that dude. It's so fun to watch. All right, I'm going to share this tab. This should be, let's see if this is showing up. Yep, okay. So these are Willie's, and again, credit to Willie and Rockfin. These are his projected team scores. He has Ohio State at 110, Oklahoma State 102, Nebraska 101, VTech 89, Iowa State 83, South Dakota State 77, Northern Iowa, 74, Michigan 69, and down the line. Again, these are his picks, but it's a pretty good indicator. There's probably 4 teams that can win this tournament. Obviously, like everything else, I'm assuming he may have factored bonus points in because it's Willie. He can do what he wants. Yep. So
can we pick our top 3 teams? See how we do against Willie?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Okay. Go first, David.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay.
I'll go first. I've done it all day. Let me do it one more time.
Go ahead.
Nebraska wins it. They seem to win it every single year.
All right.
So I'm not getting off the Nebraska train. I got off the train a long time ago in football, but I'm not getting off in wrestling right now. So I think Nebraska gets first. I think Oklahoma State will get second. And I am going to go with I'm going to go with Iowa State third.
Wow. All right, GT, who you got?
I'm going to take Oklahoma State to win it. I'm going to take Virginia Tech to get second. Taking Ohio State to get third.
I'll go OSU. I'll go Nebraska. And I'll go Ohio State. All right. And by the way, so we're just right at an hour, which is good. GT, can we get a shout out for Iowa State's football team making the Big 12 title game?
Holy bucket.
Against Arizona State. That feels like a wrestling duel.
First 10-win season ever at Iowa State. Awesome.
Yeah.
And Arizona State was picked to be last in the Big 12. So Dillingham or whatever his name is, those two guys should be coaches of the year along with Prime in the Big 12. Like, great coaching stories this year.
Oh, Iowa State has a great coach. He's really good.
Well, I'm saying those guys all have
Kids
in
love
their
him.
own way. You have a good argument for all three of those guys.
Another shout out. My son Ben's going to have another child. I'm going to be a grandpa for the fourth time. They're going to have sometime in June, have their second child. So I wanted to give Ben a shout out. Congratulations to him and Daisy and
Our favorite lawyer in Chicago.
yes, he's my favorite lawyer. Period. Doesn't matter.
No, our collective favorite lawyer in Chicago. I speak for GT and I on that. We're here for it.
Yeah.
Ben supports the pod. Ben independently likes me and GT without you, Mark. He loves you, but he likes us. So, yeah, Ben's an awesome human being. Fun story with those guys that year. They came out to the Big 12s and hung out with them on the rooftops and shouted them out and all that stuff with him and Tanner. And GT and I saw a bunch of those guys I guess it was 2 weeks ago now with Thanksgiving weekend at the Iowa State duel. Let me see if I think we got everything. We did.
Well,
right.
Michigan State has the number one recruiting class for 2026 right now.
Michigan, not Michigan State.
Does.
There's a huge
I'm sorry,
difference.
Michigan does, which we didn't have that information until right now.
Well, the other thing is Penn State duels Lehigh on Sunday. So that's another interesting thing to watch.
Yep.
Be some interesting matchups there. It'd be really fun if they left, some of those guys came out of redshirt. But I think Bo Bartlett wins, but I'd like to watch him wrestle Stanich. Brignola I don't think is ready for Messenbrink, but I'd like to see it. So Crookham, Braden Davis, probably. That's interesting.
Yeah, you got to think Crookham's just too physical right now. I think Braden Davis kind of, he wasn't a big 25-pounder. I mean,
no, I get it.
What
a lot of us
I want to see it.
But a lot of us look at margin of victory, right? And style points, right? Like if you beat me by 1 and Grant beats me by 10, without any other data, you think Grant would probably beat you. Like, we just normal things. That's how people look at it.
And he would.
Yeah, he would now. Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Kudos. Grant, I've never said that before, by the way, but you beat me now. Congratulations.
But to be fair,
in my prime, though, boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy.
Mark gets to bring his cane to the fight. So,
I'm a walker.
I
got wheels on, rubber wheels on it.
He's going to hit you with the tennis balls, GT.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna need at least a couple of heating blankets and some icy hot before we get into this.
Exactly. That's beautiful. I'm calling UVA against Penn on Friday night. Excited to do that with Rock Harrison on the ACC network. So there's something you can watch if you're not watching CKLV or if you want to go split screen. Great weekend to hunker down if it's cold and watch high school and college wrestling. Ironman, CKLV, all these other meets we're talking about. And we'll be back to chop it up next week. For Grant and Mark, I'm David. We appreciate and love you guys. Thank you for watching and listening.